everybody, welcome back to my ASMR channel. I hope that you're all doing amazing wherever you are tonight or today. Today's video is my reading wrap up for March. These are my favourite videos to film. I love talking about the books that I've read in the previous month or so. Yes, I read 9 books. 9 books in March, which is a really good reading month for me, and they were all pretty decent, to be fair. So we're gonna go through them, but before we get started, please remember to subscribe and also check out my links below. Add me as a friend on Goodreads and also follow my Bookstagram because I'm more active on there now. So yeah, let's get into March's books. I actually started with an audiobook in March, which I also have the physical copy for, and that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This one is the first book in the Hades Times Persephone series. Is that what the series is actually called? So I've had my eye on this book for ages, and my mum bought the physical copy, read it, and she didn't like it. So she gave me it, but then because she didn't like it, it kind of put me off reading it, so I never ended up picking it up. But then at the start of last month, I didn't have any credits on my Audible. I saw that this was free for members, so I decided to listen to it. If you don't know, this is it's not a retelling, but it follows Persephone, goddess of spring, and Hades, who is the god of the dead, and it's set in a modern setting. It gives me it gives me Crescent City vibes, where it's set. I don't know why, but it's set in the a modern day, I guess. And Persephone is an aspiring journalist, and Hades obviously owns a nightclub in the mortal world. And after Persephone visits his nightclub, she ends up in a situation where she has made a deal with him, and she needs to fulfill her end of the bargain. So it follows those two and how that situation transpires into romance. I gave this 3 stars. 3 stars. It was fine. My mum said she thought the writing was really young. Listened to it, it was fine. It wasn't amazing. I really liked how all the characters were gods and goddesses and from different myths, but the story itself was just similar to any other darkish romance. So it wasn't anything jaw-dropping or amazing, but it was a fun is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. This is a YA, like fantasy. And it follows Zerilda, who is said to be the goddaughter of one of the gods. And her, like, not her power, but her gift, I guess, is kind of like telling stories, but a lot of the people where she lives believes that she is a liar and that, like, she's like a kind of like a bad omen. Anyway, she gets herself into a situation where she is taken by the Wild Hunt to kind of like the other side of like the mortal realm, like beyond the veil, and they say that she lies and basically says that she can spin gold, and the king, the Earl King, who is like the person who's kidnapped her, makes her try and spin gold. And then obviously this character appears who can actually spin gold. If you know the if you know the story of Rumpelstiltskin, like, you'll understand. And she has to make like little bargains with him for him to spin the gold. But there's a lot of twists and turns. It's not quite as simple as that. There is a curse on the castle and all the people who live in the castle, and she needs to kind of like find out what the curse is and how to free them. I gave this 3 stars. It was like well written. It was definitely well written. But I think maybe it was a little bit slow. And it did take me a while to read. I think maybe if I had like more time to read it quicker, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. But also, like, I wasn't really keen on the love interest. He just seemed like a really goofy. Whereas I am definitely more kind of like a villain girl. So I felt myself leaning towards like the villain more, the Earl King. But it was fine. I continued this and finished the duology, which I will speak about next. So yeah, this was like, there was definitely some like gruesome bits in it, which I really liked for like a YA. So this was fine. I would recommend the duology, but you would need to get through this book first, because I was like, if I don't pick, I did have a break from the series and read a couple of other books, but I'm gonna just talk about Cursed. After like reading a couple of other books, I was like, if I do not pick this book up this month, like, I'm never gonna pick it up and I'm never gonna finish the duology. So I did kind of like force myself to pick up the second in the duology and finish it, which is Cursed. And you know what, I am really glad that I did, because this was a lot better, and I actually ended up giving this 4 stars. This picks up right where we are left in Gilded, and this is a lot faster. It has a lot of a faster pace, and you do get more of like the villain in this. There is like a twist at the end, which kind of leaves you like at the end of Gilded, which leaves you wondering what's going to happen, and that's explored in this book, and that's like, it's better. This is set like more in the like beyond the veil, like not in the mortal world, so that's probably why I found it more interesting. Again, the love interest to me drooling over the Old King. As a villain, I was like, oh, like, the tension he created was like really good, so I enjoyed that. And the ending of this book was like so cute. I actually really enjoyed the ending. Like the last few pages were just, they pulled at all the heartstrings. So yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars overall, so I am really happy that I ended up finishing the duology. So if you like YA fantasies, I would recommend these. Don't let the pace of the first book deter you, because this definitely does make up for that. I also love the artwork on these covers. Next, I listened to a little novella, again, which was like free for listeners, and it was called Sin for Me by J. Ellek and C. Harman. This was like a little dark romance novella, and I don't even know what to think about this book. So this is definitely not like for the faint of heart, because the guy in this, I just don't understand how we're meant to have sympathy for him. So basically it follows these 2 characters that, forgive me but I have forgotten their names, but basically this girl wants to lose her virginity, so she goes to like this club to try and lose it, and this guy, who is unsurprisingly a dark romance, a hitman, like becomes kind of obsessed with her. And from his point of view, we hear about him and how like he really likes virgins, obviously, and then but he like has sex with them and then kills them. And when I was like listening to this, I was like, what the fuck, like this is the main guy, how the fuck are we meant to actually like this guy? Which I didn't end up liking him, obviously. And also, so he like takes this girl and then like blatantly sexually assaults her, but of course in the end she ends up falling in love with him because she has no dignity, clearly. But like it was just like such a cliche dark romance, and like I just don't understand why like so many dark romances the guy has to like literally rape them. Like why? We don't need that. Like we don't have to have that in a dark romance. Like I don't know. Like I can get over in a dark romance, like non-con, you know, when it's like described as a like she's kind of like wanting it. But this wasn't even that. And the fact that he previously would like fuck girls and then kill him. I don't even find that sexy, like, you know, a fictional world. So yeah, I don't know who wrote this book, but I do know who wrote this book, but like I don't think I've read anything else from them before. Anyway, I actually ended up giving this 3 stars because the act of listening to it was interesting. Like I did want to know what was happening, even though I was like, this guy is a fucking creep. The story like was fine, and the narration was like really good, so it was like an enjoyable listen, even if the entire time through it I was kind of thinking like, what the fuck is going on? So yeah, I feel sorry for that girl. I think she needs to go to therapy and realise that she probably has Stockholm Syndrome. But like, congrats to the narrators, because she made it like a decent listen. Next, I read what I thought was a thriller, but it is more kind of like a romance, darkish romance, and that is Still Beating by Jennifer Harman. I things about this, and I was so excited to read this because I thought like it sounded so good. And this follows Dean and Cora, and Dean is engaged to Cora's sister. Okay, so Dean's engaged to Cora's sister, and Dean and Cora like historically don't get on. They're like not enemies, but you know, they have like a rivalry. And basically one night they are both kidnapped together, and they wake up and they're in this guy's basement, and it kind of follows them, what they have to do to survive, and kind of like a story through that. And oh my god, like this book had me hooked. I think I found the first few chapters like the writing was a bit but like after that, and I got into it, I was hooked. I was like honestly so hooked. And this book, like the first 150 pages, I was so fucked up, but like in a like so fucked up, but like in a interesting and intriguing way. Like you're just literally like, what? And then you can't stop reading because you need to know what happens. So I was definitely like surprised with the story, and also really enjoyed reading it. I do think it could have been like a little bit shorter, but like it had me on my toes throughout the entire thing. Like, please read this book, someone, and talk to me about it, because I really liked it. I did give it 4 stars. If you're into like thrillers but also like romance with like loads of twists, then pick this book up. Because it will take you on a journey. That is for sure. That is for sure. Then next, so that put me in kind of like a thriller mood. So I picked up If We Were Villains by L. Rio. A very popular book. So this book is like, actually this book is set in America, but like it gives me like English university vibes. Like this could definitely be set in like at Oxford University in England. I'm gonna read you the back because I think that'll do it like more justice than me explaining it. And so it says, Oliver Marks has just served 10 years for a murder he may or may not have committed. On the day of his release, he is greeted by the detective who put him in prison. Detective Colburn is retiring, and he wants to know what really happened a decade before. As a young actor at an elite conservatory, Oliver noticed that his talented classmates seemed to play the same characters on stage and off. Villain, hero, temptress. Though he was always a supporting role. But when the teachers changed the casting, a good-natured rivalry turns ugly, and the player spills dangerously over into real life. When tragedy strikes, I don't know why I found that so hard to say. One of the 7 friends is found dead. The rest face their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and themselves that they are blameless. So I loved this book. I loved like pretty much every minute of this book. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It was gory, gruesome, detailed. Like really enjoyed it. The only thing stopping it from being a 5-star read for me was like the amount of Shakespeare. Like, they all study Shakespeare, so I understand kind of why it was relevant, and how it like related to the plot and what was happening, like the similarities between it. But there was so much of it that sometimes I did struggle to understand it because I am not an expert in Shakespeare. But apart from that, so good. Like, I really understand why people love this so much. And also, like, the ending. What the fuck, like, the ending, I did not expect at all, and it was so clever. Such a good, like, academic thriller. Very atmospheric. Very clever, like I said. I've heard people compare this to A Secret History, is that what it's called? And I now want to read that, so I'm gonna have to like pick that up at some point. But yeah, like, this is a good thriller. This is a good thriller, like a clever thriller. So definitely pick this up, guys. I then finished the Infernal Devices trilogy, which is by Cassandra Clare. The last one is called A Clockwork Princess. I have been listening to these on Audible, and this was the last one. It is a fantasy series, and it's set in like the 1800s, but it gives me like steampunk vibes, and it follows this like society called the Shadowhunters who hunt like demons. And this was the last one, so I can't say like much about the plot or anything without giving like major spoilers, but all I will say was like I cried ugly tears listening to the ending of this book. I gave it 4 stars. The epilogue, like, I think that might be my favourite epilogue of all time. It broke me in so many ways. I was really happy with the ending, and I was really happy how like all the relationships turned out. It was like so heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. I do definitely recommend this series to you lot, especially because of the epilogue. Listen to the whole, or read the entire trilogy just for the epilogue of the last book. I was sobbing, and I love how bold some of the characters got in this last book. It is a YA fantasy, but it is really well done, and I definitely enjoyed it. I like Cassandra Clare's writing. Well, I liked how I liked to listen to it anyway, so the narration was really good as well. The narration for all of these books are really good. I definitely recommend the audiobooks if you weren't wanting to read the physical copies. But yeah, it was a really like nice ending to a good series. I then read a book on my Kindle, and that was God of Malice by Rina Ken. I've heard so much about Rina Ken, and I've been wanting to pick up like one of her books for ages, so I started the Legacy of Gods series, and this is the first in the series. These are dark romance books, so read the trigger warnings. Again, there is non-consent in these books, but I think it was actually done like well in these books. Like I didn't have, like, it didn't make me feel creeped out, if you know what I mean. Again, if teenage or young adult psychopath, a sociopath, but a hot one. And then we also have Clinton, who obviously Clean becomes a little bit obsessed with. I don't know like how different college dark romances can be from one another, but I really enjoyed reading this. Like for the first few chapters I was like cringing at the writing, like I was like, oh, but then again, like I just could not put this book down. I couldn't put the book down. Like I was thinking about it all the time. No matter what I was doing, I was thinking about this book. When I was at work, like on my break, I would read the book. All I wanted to do in the 4 days that I read it was read. I didn't have like time to just sit and read it for 4 days, but I could have easily read this book in like one sitting if I had the opportunity to. I think that it was a dark romance done well. I think it was really fast paced. So yeah, again, like some of the writing was a little bit cringy, but I think that's just standard for dark romances. But definitely going to be continuing the Legacy of Gods series because I want to know what all of the other characters are going to get up to. There's like a purge style like initiation in this. There's some like family rivalries. There's a big twist, like I ate it up. Which brings us on to our last book, but also my favourite book of the month, and that was The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is part of the Folk of the Air series, which is just here. This is the last book in the Stolen Air duology. So there is obviously Folk of the Air, and then there's the Stolen Air and the Prisoner's Throne, which these two books follows Oak and Wren, who are like small characters in the original trilogy, and oh my god, I just love this world so much. Like I love Elfhame so much. It's like, even if they're not my favourite fantasy books, Elfhame is my favourite fantasy world. Like hands down, I want to live there. It is like my fairy dream. I'm just obsessed. So yeah, if you didn't know, Folk of the Air is like a YA fantasy, and it's set in Elfhame, which is like a fairy world. The Cruel Prince, the Wicked King, and the Queen of Nothing follow Jude and Carden, and then the Stolen Air and the Prisoner's Throne follow Oak and Wren. Wren was a character from the Court of Teeth, which is like a different court to the court Jude, Carden and Oak are from. I gave this 5 stars. Like I literally loved it so much. I thought it was so well written. I enjoyed like literally every minute of it. Like I loved it. 5 stars. And I don't think I even gave any of the original Folk of the Air trilogy 5 stars. Like I think I probably gave them like 4.75, but I just loved it. Holly Black's writing is so easy to read, so I just like gobbled it up. Loved the like little cameo appearances by Jude and Carden. They were in it a lot more than I expected, which was nice. And just Holly Black's writing is just like to die for. I love how she makes characters which can be like nasty and rude and unwelcoming, a page in this book near the end where I can't even say because it will ruin the plot, but there's this like there's this one line and it was like, if you want to be a monster then let's be monsters together. There's this whole like page of stuff like I sent it like I'm getting excited. There's like a whole page of basically like this declaration of kind of like love, and I just love it so much. So yeah, 5 stars. This has made me want to read all of the books all over again, and for someone who wasn't like the biggest super fan of Jude, like I am now, like I just am. I want to read them again and I want to love her throughout them. So yeah, this was my favourite book of the month. This is my favourite book of the year so far. So I've read 26 books this year and this is my favourite. They are all the books that I read in March. How was your reading month? Did you get lots read or did you read like literally nothing? Let me know below and I will see you on Sunday.